Welcome back to RoadSense Break the Norm Season 2. I'm your host, Saurabh Verma, co founder of Synergy and partner at the Road Safety Network. In our last episode, we heard powerful stories of how preventable failures on our roads can change lives and how individuals are turning those moments into movements. Today, we are taking a step back to look at the bigger picture, the data, the design, and the decisions that shape India's road safety crisis. Why, despite of years of progress, do we still lose so many lives on our roads? And more importantly, what will it take to change that? Our first guest, Professor P.K. Sarkar, is one of the India's leading experts in transport planning and road safety. He served as a professor at the School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi, and spent over 2 decades at the Central Road Research Institute. Dr. Sarkar has also contributed to the Delhi Metro project, served as a Commonwealth Scholar and academic fellow in the UK, and continues to shape national standards through his work with the Indian Roads Congress, BIS, and ISO. His expertise in transport engineering, intelligent transport systems, and safety design is unmatched. Welcome, Dr. Sarkar. It's an honor to have you with us.
Thank you.
Our second guest, Ashik Jain, is an architect and urban planner and currently serves as the bicycle mayor for Pimpri Chinchwad. He's been instrumental in shaping sustainable mobility initiatives in Pune, PCMC, and Mumbai, working closely with civic authorities to make streets safer and more people friendly. Ashik's work embodies the Safer by Design approach, creating roads that protect lives by the way they are built, not just by how they are used. Welcome, Ashik. Great to have you on RoadSense.
Thank you so much, Saurav.
Welcome, and then I'll start with Professor Sarkar. So my first question to you is, uh, India continues to record one of the highest numbers of road fatalities globally. Based on the latest MRTS data, what are the most concerning patterns you see? And what do they reveal about the state of a road safety ecosystem?
And I need to mention and highlight that is your overspeeding. Overspeeding basically is a challenge. I do not know how to uh, stop this overspeeding. We have been taking so many measures, but if you see the statistic, due to overspeeding, the fatalities goes to the extent of 68%. So very alarming. Another area of concern, I think, particularly India, we see very common the not wearing the seat belts. And to 2023, I think the accident goes to the extent of 16,000 people have been victim of not wearing the seat belts. So this is as far as national picture is concerned. I can give you another many other reasons. Of course, another field I find that your wrong way of driving. And there are many other and apply weather factor. That of course I think that now we have come to a stage that we talk about zero fatality. Of course, I'll let you know in detail. The next aspect you will talk about the national and state highways with respect to the fatalities. If you see, it constitutes around 4% highways, maybe 5% between this range, and the accident it goes to the extent of 58%, out of which state and national highways more or less bear the equal proportions. So that's the and another things I did not mention that is relating to the high toll on young adults, as somebody previous speakers also is talking about. That I can tell you with statistics that nearly the people within 18 to 45 years bracket, and the accident goes to the extent of 66.4%. It's very alarming. So we need to stop these things. And when you look at the the pattern in the various states, you will be also astonished to know 6 states. If I just mention the Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan, Karnataka, and these are the states which are exhibiting high accidents. Even if you look at the total accidents as against the six states, you will find half of the accident occur in this particular six states only. And of course, particularly if you if you go to the various states, you'll find most alarming factors which comes to my notice is that inadequate infrastructure design, which takes into our road geometrics, transport systems inadequacy. There are many things I can talk for hours together, and there is also a huge gap what the enforcement authority wants to do and what is the safety culture. This gap is very difficult to be addressed because though we have been taking a lot of actions, previous speaker also said the Ministry of Highways and Transport, they are doing wonderful work. But in spite of that, if you know the UN Decade of Action, you will see that they wanted the fatality to be dropped by 50%. But on the other hand, it goes on increasing. Now they have shifted the, what you call their agenda up to 2030. Also, our commitment is that we should bring it to the half. But if you see the today's figure, at 2020 to 2003, you'll find it is keeps increasing. That's another important area of concern. Now, question is that do you have sufficient data? So, systematic data, post-accident response deficiency, that also need to be looked into. Because that's why government of India is trying to identify the black spot areas. There are a number of black spots. If I remember, it was more than 7,000. Now they are a fourth. We have been able to bring it down substantially to more than 5,000. And this is, but of course, I'll talk about the data, the importance of developing a data bank. Now, another important thing that, as I say, the policy implementation lab, because there is, they will find road safety policies also is in place. But have we been able to develop the policy mechanisms with respect to action plan? Or there is any strategy which practically link to the policy and then action plan? So we don't have. Though we have had in the national, you are also in the next question, perhaps you will be talking about the National Road Safety Board. Then I feel that this need to be looked into, and I can tell you one examples that will practically help consolidate reviews. Japan, we have seen in 1960 it was a traffic war. Traffic war means there's a pollution, congestion, a huge fatality, and their fatality was to the extent of 16,000 something or some number. So over a period of time, they have had their 5 years program, 5 years program with respect to bringing down the accident by 50%. Now, today, if you look at the Japan's traffic is increasing. In spite of that, even I have been to Japan scene, there is hardly traffic seen on the roads because all are taken care by metro systems or they are well sustainable transport systems. But now I was checking what is accident rate. Now it is hardly around 3,000 fatalities. So one hand, all the countries like Sweden, Norway, even some Middle East countries I have seen in England, because of the ITS intervention, they have been able to bring down the 50% fatalities. So wonderful. But why can't we do ourselves? So, and if you look at the accident, so as I say, it is in increasing order. I don't like to go into the facts and figures. One can see. I think that this way I can summarize your first reply as far as the first question is concerned.
Thank you so much, Professor Sarkar. These are indeed very strong data points. Coming to Ashik, as someone who works closely with city governments, what's your reading of India's rising crash numbers? Do you see any specific urban design flaws that repeatedly contribute to these accidents?
So, if I'm to pinpoint 3, 4 points from the perspective of urban roads, which becomes very crucial from the perspective of road crashes, I think one is speed. speed, actually, when it comes to speed, just yesterday, that is Sunday, 2nd of November, there was a big crash in yesterday, and where 3 people lost lives in just in Pune. So the speeds of the vehicle, of course, were very high. Second, if I look at the accident, the second point that comes to my mind is again non-peak hours. This accident happened early in the morning. So it was a non-peak hour. Typically, peak hours, the traffic congestion, I look at it as a speed calming measure. And typically the speeds are lower and the during the peak hours, but the non-peak hours, typically the school times are during the non-peak hours, or the non-peak hours are when the speeds become really high. So that is the second aspect that has to be looked at. Third is the vulnerable road users. Typically, I feel that the young people riding on their bikes or in the cars during the non-peak hours at high speed are one group of vulnerable users, other than, of course, cyclists and pedestrians and two-wheeler. Thing, if I'm just to point it out, is the infrastructure. So ultimately, it comes down to infrastructure, where the road geometry is a complete mess. The turning radiuses on the junctions are a complete mess, where at times the surface of the road, where it could be soft, so that whenever there is a crash, you land on a soft surface, are typically very hard in terms of the dividers or the curbs that we typically use. So these are 3, 4 points that I would really like to sum up as part of the first question.
Thank you so much, Ashif. Professor Sarkar, you had briefly touched upon National Road Safety Board. Let's get into details of that. So you know that obviously government has notified the constitution of the National Road Safety Board. How significant is this step? And what kind of coordination between national and state level action plans could help make road safety reforms more consistent across India?
The National Road Safety Board is going to play important role. And now in 2021, it was being constituted based on the Motor Vehicle Amendment Act 2019. And now I think this is a significant step for providing a dedicated expert-led statutory body to drive, coordinate road safety program and reforms across India. And we have seen earlier the road safety program, which was initiated, it was in a scattered manner. And of course, though we have not been able to see much visibility on today's life, but I think that they are doing their work. And now the question is that it is work, it's a apex body, try to coordinate with all the state governments, state level, district level, council, district level. And we have seen over a period of time, this has been indeed to support the implementation of National Road Safety Strategy. And now the question is that this also includes not only road safety, also includes traffic management. Also. That's another dimension. Of course, when you talk about coordinations, I feel that, as I say, that it has number of areas of concerns with respect to coordination, the coordination with respect to how to promote the best practices. Because we see whenever I go abroad, try to see how best they have been able to bring down the road safety, the road accidents. That's another areas. We need to have a data-driven policy making, because policy cannot be built just in the air. Based on it has to be evidence-based. That has to be ultimately percolated and coordinated with other states. They have to have a kind of monitor to see that how other states are progressing. We have to see the technical expertise and advice. If needed, whoever maybe have to put in the steering committee or next level committees to see that everybody is aware of and take necessary steps. And also, we have to see the standards which is being formulated. This I have an experience. For BISs, that ITS standards, people have their own standards. That this has not been really put into in official mode. So therefore, I have taken a responsibility from BIS that to school bus safety. School bus safety means If any child gets into the bus early morning, then immediately his parents is going to be informed. Institute is going to be informed that he has boarded the bus. And if anything goes happen in the vehicle itself, so the school can really track and get to know what is the problem even inside the bus. That practically standards we are trying to build on based on the experiments, and also we try to see that when you have people try to see the coordination for consistent reforms across India. One is that empowers state level counterparts, performance based incentive, as you say. Next one is the mandatory data sharing, because I've seen over a period of time, if I want to get the data from other organizations, some or other they dodge me, diplomatically they avoid. So there should be some kind of promotional avenues of data sharing. So there also you can give some incentives. If anybody who wants to have a data, he can also share, and it could be a data bank. From the data bank, you can do a fantastic research, because that is the problem. Do not have much capability doing better research because we do not have data, and spend huge money time for data collection. Then also see the joint training and capacity. This is very, very important. If you do not have a capacity building program right from central level to state level, the culture of road safety would not really uh, come up with some importance. So that's another areas of concern.
So, if you were to identify three policy changes that could make the biggest difference right now, what would they be?
I will say that first of all, I say that, um, of course, we need to have a strong evidence-based data. And among all the policies, I'll say, I will repeat again, because there are a number of things I can talk about, because you say that there is a limitation of time. First of all, I'll say zero fatalities with ITS-based road transport systems, at least in order to gradually move to the level of zero fatalities. Initially, one can think, all the authorities can think that ITS systems, which are talking about speed violation, red light, and wrong way driving violations, violations at road intersection, midpoint locations, at critical locations identified by the black spot, all has to be fully activated, and it doesn't cost much. That, as I said, the even in case our manual gets implemented properly, that is your mandatory use for smart mobile to ensure conflict would be free. They ensure the conflicts can be well addressed before the accident occurs. So this could be as a part of the next stage of development. Of course, the third one is all the side work, all the road network, irrespective of city level or non-city level, particularly of where you should see the user-friendly network in terms of your provision of here use need. This is essential. And later on, of course, there are a number of things I have in my mind. In case if you give me an opportunity, I can talk for a lot more than hours. One of the important things I feel which is necessary, of course, we have some app, but we should develop any immediately at city level, that is e-calling. I do not know whether you heard. E-callings means that if anybody, but that requires, because we have been now using good cards, mostly there are some sensor driven also vehicle.
So, thank you so much, Professor Sarkar. Coming to you, Sheikh, just would like to ask one final question from you, which is, uh, if you could give one piece of advice to every urban planner and policymaker listening today, what would it be?
I think just before that, maybe 2, 3 minutes to summarize a bit of things that I want to say. Uh,
Sure.
in terms of the policy, if you look at any policy, like if I'm talk about Motor Vehicles Act, I think it is a mandate for people to using two-wheelers specifically to wear helmets. But when it comes to actual translation of these policies, actually what I see on ground, not more than 30% of people in Pune and Pimpri-Chinchwad. And we are really proud of not wearing helmets in, Pune and Pimpri-Chinchwad. People here are really proud. Like if there's a mandate of wearing helmets tomorrow, most of the people who are wearing helmets now will just throw off the helmet. What's the helmet? So that is what it is like. And ultimately, if you look at the data, the PCMC, Pimpri-Chinchwad and Pune data for the last 5 years, it says that over 1,000 people who lost their lives on roads on two-wheelers. Out of them, only 3 people were wearing helmets. So, which is a very which is data which is really directly depict showing that you lose your life when you don't wear a helmet. Similarly, our national urban transport policy talks about moving vehicles, moving people and not vehicles. But ultimately, when it comes to translation, every time we go to a junction and we talk to the traffic police, they'll just be talking about throughput for the traffic flow. And every time the city is planning their streets, they will just take the volume counts of cars and two-wheelers, and they're just trying to maneuver them from one place to another. So that is a very important policy aspect which actually has to change, and we need to look at movement on the streets as a movement of people and not just of vehicles. And secondly, also the fact that streets just doesn't have a mobility function, it also has a place function. People go on the streets to enjoy the streets, to just have that pani puri on the street. So that aspect is completely amiss. A second point I think is, which is very important that I want to make, is that when it comes to infrastructure design in urban areas, there is a quote that Professor Dinesh Mohan from IIT Delhi used to always say. He used to say that design works better than laws. How many ever laws you want to make, when you have designed a street where the turning radiuses are very good, where you have raised crossing, where you have traffic calming measures, automatically the vehicles become slow. Automatically, it creates a safe environment for everyone. So that is the second important point that I wanted to make. Similarly, probably for the school zones, Pimpri-Chinchwad is trying something around the school zones. Pune is trying something around the school zones. School zones, typically the timing of the schools are non-peak hours, which makes it very them vulnerable, the school kids vulnerable to all these kind of crashes. And which is very important for us to intervene and make sure that you intervene around the school zones and make them safer. Ultimately, to answer to your question, I think this lack of expertise around this area. We had Professor Sarkar and a lot of people at SPO Delhi who trained us, and slowly and steadily we've got into the fact that I'm the bicycle mayor of a city is something that many people keep asking me what exactly that is. So we need a lot of more bicycle mayors in our cities. Probably we need a lot of, and people should actually come up and take up these kinds of voluntary posts and propagate safety on streets. So I think that is something that you need to be very passionate and bold and get into this. This is a very interesting field, and you need to understand the policies, and you need to understand how to be tactical to translate these policies onto the ground. I think that is one learning over the last 5 years. You have to be very tactical, cannot be dependent on policies, and be very idealistic. When you have to work with the government, you have to collaborate with them, and you have to leave your head as experts and just become a common man to talk to probably the traffic police, to talk to the government engineers, to talk to the bureaucrats, etc. In fact, even the politicians.
Thank you, Professor Sarkar and Archik, for helping us see the story behind the statistics. What's clear is that road clashes aren't accidents. They are preventable failures shaped by design, behavior, and enforcement. To our viewers, if you liked the episode, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. See you in the next episode.